I always figured that J Dilla'a smooth subby low pass filter style bass sound came from his Minimoog or one of the other many synthesizers in his arsenal, and often it probably did. However, when I heard Questlove on Open Mike Eagle's What Had Happened Was podcast, my mind was blown.
And he's telling me all the stories, like how he's getting the bass tones. He's like, oh, easy. And he puts a record on the turntable, and he says the needle on the turntable, and the turntable's not running, and he puts the volume all the way to the top, and he's turning the highs down from the mixer, and it's making a feedback noise, and he gets the SP1200, records that, and then suddenly he puts it on all the keys, and now I'm like, this is how you get your bass tones?
Wow, how could you not want to have a crack at doing that? My setup is pretty straightforward. I've got my turntable going into a phono preamp DI because it sounds much nicer than the cheap and nasty one inside my turntable. Then that goes into a tube preamp to boost the signal. Then finally into my SP404 Mark II, where I'll be doing most of the work. What I'm doing in this video can be done on just about any sampler or in any DAW. This is just my weapon of choice. So here's how this works. I put the needle down on the record, but I don't start playing it. Instead, with my turntable sitting in front of my speaker, I'm going to crank up the gain on the preamp, and as I do, the stylus will pick up the vibration caused by the speaker, resulting in a feedback loop that gets louder and louder, which hopefully I'll be able to attain with the gain knob. So, with that said, let's sample some feedback. That's pretty fat and nasty. Before I go any further shaping the sound, I want to find out what note it is. So I've connected the 404 to Koala Sampler and I'm using its tuner. I can see it's slightly lower than a C, so I'm going to raise up the pitch a little to put it in tune. And resample that to pad 2. Righto, to cut out the high frequencies, I'm going to throw a low pass filter on it. I'm next going to resample that to pad 3, and when I do, I'm going to also record it up the octave. That'll possibly be a much more useful register for making bass lines. Now, unfortunately I don't have a SP1200 which has a sample rate of 26 kHz and a bit depth of 12-bit. However, I do have an MPC60 Mark II, which will give me the 12-bit at 40 kHz. And I can also bounce the samples onto the SP303, which offers a 22 kHz sample rate as one of its options. Starting with the SP303, I actually sampled the bass notes up another octave again. Then bounced them to the MPC, where I dropped their pitch back down the octave to where they were originally at. The reason why I did this was to try to get some more of that lo-fi anti-aliasing personality that may help the bass tones cut through the mix a little more. Okay, so to recap, raw signal, pitched in tune, low pass filter, pitched up an octave, and thrown on the SP303 and MPC60. Right, so now it's time to have some fun and see what these bass samples can do. This is the beat I'm going to be jamming on. If you've checked out my latest EP, Watched Pots Never Boil 5, you might recognize that joint. This beat is in the key of A minor, so I've pitched the bass tones that I've made down 3 semitones from C down to A. Not too shabby, I dig it. Alright, so full disclosure, as some of you might know, this isn't the first time I've made this video. I released my previous one a few days ago, and down in the comments, some of you were quick to point out I had actually misinterpreted a particularly pivotal part of Questlove's breakdown of the technique, and consequently had screwed the proverbial pooch royally. So much thanks to those who pulled me up on the error of my ways. It's much appreciated because messing with this feedback thing was really fun, and I hadn't done that before. Now, where I went wrong last time was I figured Questlove was saying that Dilla would crank up the gain and sample the grounding loop buzzing noise from his turntable, the noise floor, like this. And then I pretty much did the same process as I did in this video to make these two bass samples. I actually think these sound pretty cool too. I mean, it wasn't what I was supposed to do, but you know, it kind of just goes to show that you can probably make a bass line out of anything. And so finally, on the off chance you're actually still watching this tutorial and you want to grab a copy of these bass notes, both the ones from the turntable feedback and the ones from the ground loop hum, I'm going to throw them up for free download on my BeatStar, so I'll drop a link for that down in the description and maybe in a comment or something. So yeah, as always, thanks heaps for watching my stuff, and much love to everyone who's been giving my latest EP, Watch Pots Never Boil 5 a spin. It's very much appreciated. Take it easy, fam. Laters.